So you may have heard a few days ago that Ian Fleming Publishing announced that they would be re-releasing the 007 novels for the 7th anniversary of the book series, which is very exciting, but they're making some changes. They've announced some edits are going to be happening to several of the books, which are going to remove potentially offensive words, phrases, etc. And it's been a big deal, a huge news story over the past few days. Several news outlets, major television shows have picked up the story and are talking about it. And I thought I'd give my 2 cents on it. I recently watched Calvin Dyson's video, great video, you should check it out, talking about this topic. And he thinks that it may very well have intended to be a publicity stunt, and it certainly seems like that. But I think this may be biting them in the ass a little bit, because from the Bond fan community, which I consider myself to be a part of, we seem to all be pretty much agreeing that it's a little bit of a betrayal, in a way, of Fleming. Not necessarily that we all agree that Fleming, racism belongs in the Fleming stories. It definitely does not. But those ideas, those values were commonplace at that time, and it makes sense to look back on those stories as they were and embrace the fact that we've evolved, we've changed. I was actually the other day reading on the 007 James Bond Reddit to try to get some ideas of what the hell was going on with this thing, what other Bond fans thought of the situation. And I found a post that elaborated on all the details of the situation, and the most upvoted comment by a user named Spockadile perfectly encapsulates how I feel about it, and I think how a lot of Bond fans are feeling about it. He says, "Obviously I'm opposed to racism, but art is flawed, and that's okay. If we can't see things as they were, how can we know how much progress we've made?" This quote, I think, absolutely perfectly ties up my feelings of the whole thing. Obviously, racism has no place in any writing, period. But in Fleming's time, when he was writing this, and these things were said not just by him, but many people, many writers, we have to look at it and say, okay, that was then, and this is now. But we shouldn't just turn a blind eye to it. And I agree that this is probably a mistake. And frankly, this is definitely gearing towards newer readers, because the Bond fan, they're not thinking about us. They're thinking about who they can sell the Bond books to, the people who have not touched it, because we all know what's in these stories. For example, Live and Let Die, which is one of the books that's being targeted the most, has a lot of racist elements to it. Bond is dealing with a lot of black characters, so a lot of Fleming's intuitions become clear. And while those things are, very offensive and slightly heinous today, I understand and recognize that that was the past, and just eliminating those things is perhaps a little unhealthy for us. But again, so a new reader who's coming to Live and Let Die is not going to look at it and say, oh, I know that there is racist things taken out of it. There is apparently going to be a disclaimer put at the front of the books as well for the 7th anniversary re-release. But in my opinion, that should be all we get. And I actually saw Whoopi Goldberg breaking this news story the other day, and she has a very good spiel about it. I think she made some really great points.
Y'all got to stop this, okay? Just put a disclaimer on it that says, listen, this book was written at this time, or put out the original and what y'all have done, because kids should have the right to read how people thought, so that they know how to make the change.
So in many ways, we may feel this is sort of a betrayal of Fleming. We have to understand they want to sell the books. It's a business. They need to reach out and grow the audience. And really, growing the audience is what we want. We want a bigger fandom. That's always a good thing. We want, to drag more people in. Perhaps drag is a bit of that might have a negative connotation with it. We want to attract more people. And if removing all of this, this vocabulary, this racist content is what that takes, then why not? I mean, personally, it doesn't bother me. However, I see on both camps why the arguments are strong on both sides. I own all the books in their original, they're of recent publishing, but they have the contents. This is, before the 7th anniversary releases. And by the way, have any of you seen those new covers? They're horrendous. But I don't know. It's a weird situation. If they were just trying to get publicity, it definitely worked, and they got people talking. But I don't know if this is necessarily going to get people to buy the books. If I was somebody who wasn't a Bond fan and I saw what was going on, I wouldn't, say, oh, they're taking all this, offensive material out of the Bond books. I'm going to read them now. I think I think the people that it would have attracted, it's already attracted. I don't think doing that is going to necessarily pull in a new audience, you know, which contradicts what I said before, but which is what I think they're trying to do. But I don't necessarily think it's going to work. So it's kind of a weird, you know, almost a double-edged sword sort of thing. But I don't know. I'm not a businessman. I'm really interested to see if this. I don't know how I'm going to find out if this does affect the Bond book sales going forward. But you know, we just started the 7th anniversary. We've just finished the 60th anniversary of the films. This year, we just started the 7th anniversary of the books, and this is kind of a nasty little print on this this anniversary celebration. Not that it's nasty that there's such a lot of bad publicity with it. You know, maybe the exact contents being removed are obviously horrendous and should be gone, but the publicity is not so great about it. And certainly the reaction from the Bond fan community has been extremely mixed. I think a lot of people, and myself included, think that it probably would have been better if this didn't happen. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, if this was the right thing for them to do, or if not. And hopefully we'll have more Bond news coming in the future, outside the books, but only time will tell. Until next time.